welcome to my show. A guest here. Her name is Paula Apro. Dr. Paula, how are you doing, ma?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a holistic health mentor and a medicine practitioner. Can you please, Dr. Paula, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Dr. Paula?
Sure. So I hold a doctorate and a PhD in natural medicine. But when I say that I am a doctor of natural medicine, people do get confused. I want to make a point that I am not a medical doctor, a licensed medical doctor, nor am I a naturopathic doctor. I focus on the energy systems of the body. I've been practicing energy medicine for quite some time. And lately, most recently, I would say in the last 3 to 4 years, I'm really focusing my practice on bioenergetics. And what that is, it's a way to measure the human energy system and make it meaningful. I'm working with subtle energy, which is invisible. And Western medicine really doesn't acknowledge subtle energy. Of course, acupuncturists and Chinese medicine practitioners know all about it, but that's the energy that I work with. And I'm able to use something called quantum biofeedback and voice analysis to really bring this completely invisible energy system to life so people can really see. Basically, you can see the energetic blockages that might be holding back people from healing. So it really is uh, very new to the industry, and I believe it's going to be, if it's not already. I mean, I say it's the medicine of the future, but honestly, the future is here now. It's available now. So that's pretty much what I do and what I specialize in.
And it's very much beautiful to actually get something that can actually give someone the trajectory of what one can actually do in a position of healing. Is very much powerful and beautiful, to be honest, Dr. Paula. And also, that is why I also like to drive to the book which you've written as well, A Quantum Shift. Embrace the medicine of the future to heal the pain from the past. Can you please, Dr. Paula, discuss more on the book? And do you also plan to write more books in the coming future, Dr. Paula?
Oh, that's a question that I'm not sure. I mean, I would always love to write another book. I have a lot in my brain that I'd like to share, but I can at least talk about the one that I already wrote. So, using the medicine of the future, I already kind of described what we're calling the medicine of the future. That's using technology, using voice analysis technology to uncover. And in this case, when I say the pain from the past, I mean emotional pain. We all are carrying emotions, repressed emotions, shock and trauma from our childhood. And even though our conscious mind may not know, if I was to ask somebody, oh, do you think you're carrying, guilt and shame? People will say no. But in reality, they are. It's just repressed so much. We don't acknowledge it. We're not aware of that. And with this technology, we can kind of bring that up. And when people see the results, not just the emotional results, because sometimes people can't really relate to those emotional results, but they can relate to the physical things. I can look at the scan result and I can say, oh, you might be having, gastrointestinal problems. And usually people are like, oh, yes, absolutely. Or, oh, maybe you're having pain in your knees. Whatever it is, they cannot deny that the scan results are accurate when it comes to the physical body. So therefore, when the results of the emotions come up, I think they have to stop and think, gee, even though I don't want to admit this or I don't want to go there, it's probably true. So if we can deal with those emotions, and unlike a traditional, say, therapist, the talk therapists, many people don't want to do that, right? Because they have to bring it up and they got to live it again and they have to experience the pain all over again using frequencies as medicine. They don't have to do that at all, right? I just have to figure out which frequencies would help to balance, would help to release these emotions. And I don't use only frequencies. I have other modalities, but that book, The Quantum Shift, is really focusing on the frequencies. There's a frequency to everything in this world. Every crystal, every vitamin, every bacteria, everything in the world has a frequency, and emotions have frequencies too. So we know there's a range of, say, the healthy range of a particular emotion. Let's just say anger, right? And if you were you were angry right now, let's say you were angry right now, and I did your voice analysis, it would show me that there's a lot of resonance with anger right now. And I can probably ask you, are you feeling angry? And you would probably have to say yes. Then there's also on the flip side, I can tell if it's chronic anger that has been typical part of your life for a long time. So if I can send your body the healthy frequency of anger, it might bring you down into that healthy range. So that's what it's all about. And really, it's that mind-body connection, right? No matter what physical problem you've got going on, I guarantee you there is some kind of emotion. And some people might say, "Oh, but Paul, I just had an accident. I fell down the stairs. That's why my back hurts." But honestly, there is emotion wrapped up in that as well. There's trauma, there's shock, there could be frustration because now I'm stuck and I can't move. So there's always an emotional aspect, and that's really what I love to do. I love to get rid of that energy that's stopping the body from healing.
And to be honest with you, Dr. Paula, a lot of people do not really know because every single person usually just focus on the physical state. They do not even think about the emotional perspective. And as you've said, the mind and the body, they work hand in hand. When the mind is actually obstructed or actually having issues or having some kind of pressures and pain, it's as a reflection on the body, which shows how the emotion play a very, very huge role in our life, the decision we make, how we react to situations. It plays a very powerful role. And I am so glad that there are actually perspectives that can actually get those situations resolved as well. And also, I would just like to dive to listeners who could feel confused, who could feel discouraged or disconnected from their health. How do you think they can begin to understand what it truly means to reclaim ownership of their well being, Dr. Paula?
Well, I can tell you a personal story of my own. This is how I actually got into this field. Like just about everybody else in holistic health, uh, we were our own patients, right? We had to heal ourselves. And I suffered for just about 8 years with chronic debilitating pain, neck pain, to the point where I had pinched nerves going down my arms. And I was a long distance cyclist. I was a dancer. I was a yoga instructor. I rode a motorcycle. And all of the things that I love to do, I couldn't do them anymore. So like everybody else, I went to all the doctors. I did all the things. I tried what I thought would be everything, and nothing was working. And finally, I broke down. I went to Western medicine. I was diagnosed with a degenerative disease that was just going to continue to get bad. I had surgery. I have a titanium plate screwed to my neck. And yes, I have to admit that the immediate pinch nerves went away, but it was 18-month recovery that I suffered through. And then a year and a half later, the whole cycle started again. I could feel like the whole cycle, the pain was starting to go back. The neck pain was starting. And that's when I made the decision that it was me who created this situation, right? No, I couldn't blame the situation. I'm thinking I must be doing something in my life to go. And this was long before I really knew anything about energy and the mind-body connection. But I knew that I got myself there, and I felt like the surgery was a band-aid. Like they stuck a band-aid on and the band-aid fell off, and now I had to take control of my health. It was up to me to fix it. And I did that. I went off on a sabbatical. It was Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm sure you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is and his meditation. And I read his book. And for the first time in my life, I must have read like 1,000 self-help books. But this time I listened. I did everything he said. I meditated for an hour and a half every day for a month when I went away on my sabbatical. and I changed my personality. And it was the constant chronic stress that I was creating, like the situation in my life was still the situation. It was just my response to it. So I have not had any neck pain. Actually, I don't have any pain. I'm 57 years old, and in the neck situation, it's been 10 years. Absolutely never came back once I decided to change my mind and to handle stress differently. So that's where the message is that we are in control of our health. And no matter what our health problem is, and I know nobody likes to hear this, especially, if somebody gets a diagnosis of cancer, let's say, nobody wants to hear you brought this upon yourself. That's a terrible thing to tell somebody, but we have to take not only responsibility for healing, we also have to take responsibility for where we're at. Whatever's hurting us, there's a reason. There's something where either we haven't forgiven somebody or we're putting too much pressure on us. There's always some reason. And, all the symptoms are just messengers, right? And I know that that was one of the things you wanted to touch upon. And that's one of my favorite things to talk about is Western medicine. They try to take the symptom away. And if you don't feel the pain, oh, problem is solved. But that symptom is your body trying to give you a message so that you understand what you need to change. Something needs to change, right? No matter if it's pain or if it's an illness, something needs to change. And that's what I love to do. Like, that's my job. That's my job title right there. Figure out what the body's trying to say, tell you or suggest to you what you might want to change, and then let the body heal itself. I don't heal people. I used to call myself a healer, a pranic healer, this, that, and the other, but I'm just trying to get people on the right path to healing so they can heal.
I sincerely appreciate you for the wonderful story. To be honest with you, we can now see that there are some situations we have in life, and we have to actually try our best to recognize it. Because sometimes in our life, we have repeated patterns. That means whereby a certain sickness repeatedly comes back on and on and on. And we have to try our best to actually think and sit down and actually see what is actually wrong. And most of the time, we have to take ownership of some decisions we make because our decisions plays a very huge role in our outcome. The way we feel, the way we see the world, and the way we actually give a sense of reflection as well. And for you to be in the position which you said earlier to actually give that sense of reflection that you made this decision. And those decisions are one of the greatest tools that are actually causing those certain situation as well. Actually gave you the position to actually know how the situation will be resolved. So if we can be in the position to sit down and take that ownership and accept ourselves, I think it plays a very powerful and huge role in our life and every journey we make as well. And also, I would like to drive to the point of body literacy. Why do you think body literacy is important? And how does understanding the inner workings of the body, how do you think it helps people make wiser and more grounded decisions about their wellness, Dr. Paula?
That's a complicated question. And the sad reality is, we didn't come into this world with an owner's manual for our bodies. And so many people have no idea. They just have no idea what the signals mean, right? And I was one of them. I mean, it took me 40 something years before I got interested in health and wellness. So, and it isn't until now with all of my knowledge and all of my experience, every little time something goes wrong with my body, or not even wrong, but let's say, your fingernails, you can read so much health information about your fingernails, or even your face. Every line on your face tells a story. Or the Chinese medicine theories are just brilliant, and also Indian, the Ayurveda medicine too. The body is constantly sending us signals, but the sad reality is people just don't know. So if something strange happens, and I always tell my clients, no matter what changes in your body, whether it's a little some kind of skin irritation, or you have a little bit of a pain, or whatever it is, it's a message. And I happen to have, a library of books and a library of knowledge in my head that I can read I do have something that I offer for free on my website called a system decoder because it really helps people understand. For instance, one of the stories that I shared in my PhD dissertation when I was explaining why I chose the subject I chose, I was trying to alleviate physical pain by helping emotions using Bach flower essences. And when I was a teenager, I think I was about 13 years old, I was playing soccer in grammar school and in high school, and it got to the point where my left knee hurt so bad I had to quit the soccer team. And when I went to Western medicine doctors, everybody x-rayed me and came up with I had no cartilage in my knee. Nobody asked, not one doctor asked me what was my home life like? What was going on at home? Was there anything out of the ordinary? Little did they know, I watched my mother die of cancer for 2 years being sick, and she had recently died when my left knee hurt so bad. And the connection to the knees in Chinese medicine or bioenergetics really is support. If your knees are hurting, it's because you feel like you don't have support in your life. And the left side of the body is related to your mother, and the right side of the left side is the yin, the feminine side. The right side of the body is the yang, the masculine side. So that would be more related to the father. But I lost my mother, so my left knee, it made sense that it hurt, right? And I didn't put this together until much later in my life. And when I look back on my life, I always wore a big, ugly knee brace. I played volleyball my most of my young adult life. I always wore that knee brace. And then I realized that I just stopped wearing it. I don't know. I think I lost it or who knows. I just stopped wearing it. Meanwhile, I was trail running, I was long distance cycling, and it never really made me stop and say, "Hey, how come my knee doesn't hurt anymore?" But then I realized that ever since I got married, I didn't need the knee brace. My husband has supported me for all of my crazy, I want to get my PhD at 50. Okay, go ahead and do it. I mean, he's always been the most supportive guy in the world. And lo and behold, the cartilage grew back. I don't know, but I don't have knee pain anymore. So that was a really long answer to your question, but even though people don't know this information, the information is out there, right? Go to the bookstore, get a book about what do the physical signs mean, because there's many, many, many books written on the subject, and it would help people tremendously to just do their own exploring, take their own symptoms. It's like we have dreams. What do? We go to Google and say, "Oh, what does this dream mean?" Right? Everybody's into that. Why aren't people doing that when they have a new pain come up, right? So that would be my advice is do whatever it takes to get the information and really try to figure out what might be causing it and what lifestyle change can I make or what emotion do I need to work on.
Exactly. It shows a very huge perspective. And also, the story actually made earlier as well. It goes back to the sense of reflection for us to actually pick one or two things that we see about ourselves, bring it out, bring it to the table, and see what we can actually adjust. When we adjust those little things, it plays a very huge role on what we can do next to build ourselves and also heal from that wound or also situation we had within ourselves. And also, Dr. Paula, I would like to drive to some common traps. What do you think are some of the common traps that people fall into that could keep them disconnected from their own power when it comes to health and healing, Dr. Paula?
Well, I think the biggest trap is believing that we need to go to a doctor with a white coat and he or she is in charge of their health. I mean, the mindset of our culture, at least here in the United States, is terrible. I mean, it just it breaks my heart that people just feel like for some reason, they think they can live their lives and do whatever they want and pay no attention to their body because it's somebody else's job. I'm going to wait till I get broken and then I'm going to go to see this person and I'm going to trust them I mean, I'm sorry, no disrespect to Western medicine, but people that just blindly take face value what the doctor says, and then here's the pill that's going to fix you, I think they're in trouble, really. I mean, people have to realize that they have to be the champion of their own health. If something goes wrong with your house or your car, chances are you're going to get more than one estimate, right? But people often, I mean, when it comes to surgery, yes, people will get a second opinion. But I think the best advice I would give is if you go to Western medicine and they give you that diagnosis, don't just stop there. Go to see a holistic practitioner. Come to somebody like me that may be able to give you a wellness, energetic wellness scan that may be able to connect the mind body to it. But but yeah, just people need to take control and take responsibility for their health. Absolutely. You know, when we all drive cars and we bring those cars in for service regularly, right? We make sure to check the miles on our dashboard to see when do we need an oil change, and we go get that oil change because we don't want the engine to seize up. We want to make sure we're maintaining it. But when it comes to our own bodies, it seems like people don't take that same responsibility for this engine, this people think that we're physical machines, but we don't maintain them. So that's the trap. I think the trap is just the system, the medical system, that trap of I got a diagnosis. I'm not going to question it. I'm going to do exactly what this doctor says, even though my gut may say it doesn't feel right. I don't want to take that medication for the rest of my life. But no one questions it, right? Nobody questions it. So my advice is question it. If your gut tells you this doesn't feel right, then explore further. We got to trust our own gut.
Exactly. That is how we actually feel the system currently. When we have issues, we go to the doctor, give us a meditation, and when it comes back again, we go again, go for meditation, it comes back again, and that is go on and on and on and on. And we just have to understand we are the greatest source of our healing. We are the source of our light. We can actually sit down, despite what we've actually received, despite what healing we've gotten in the medical perspective. We have to try our best to sit down and also give a sense of reflection to know what we can actually adjust, because it is a very huge perspective, because we are actually having a situation that could lead to a certain reason, because there is nothing that actually come, as you stated earlier during the beginning of our conversation, the mind and the body. When the mind is actually emotionally trenched and also down with the sense of the frequency, which was discussed earlier, it affects the whole body. The whole body follows through. And we go back for meditation, we have a little bit improvement, it comes back again because that frequency is very low. So we need to sit down and actually build our emotion and give ourselves the reflection. And I sincerely appreciate you for the great insight and also the stories you actually made during our conversation as well. Dr. Paula, there is also a question Anamali asked during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Dr. Paula, what do you think that thing will be, Dr. Paula?
From our forefathers, well, I'm not exactly sure what I would say there, but the one thing that I always said was my greatest learning from all of my studies was called downward causation. And it was basically the highest level of healing is the spiritual. And it talked about the five bodies of consciousness. And if you can imagine, it starts down here with the physical body. This is where all the problems manifest. And then on top of the physical body is the vital body, which is where, acupuncturists and massage therapists, if we can change the energy, we can change the body, right? But then on top of that is emotions. So the emotions will change the energy. How we feel, the predominant emotions we have are going to affect that energy, which is going to affect the body. We know that, right? But then on top of the emotions is the mental body. That's the core beliefs we have. That's the way we think, all of the predominant thoughts we have. That's listening to the news and getting this information, and then all of a sudden you have a worldview based on whatever the media told you. That affects the emotions. And that affects the energy and that affects the body. But at the very top of this, the highest level is the spiritual. That's the soul, right? That's a lot of that information that's from our ancestors. We come into this world and we want, like, God, our creator, just wants us to be doing our soul's mission and for our soul to be happy. And my PhD dissertation was using the Bach flowers, and I loved the Bach flowers because Dr. Edward Bach, he had a theory, and that theory was all disease was based on a break in the spirit. The spirit isn't happy. So, therefore, according to my 5 levels, right, the spirit's not happy. It causes you to think negative thoughts, which causes you to have negative emotions, which causes your energy to be lowered, which causes your body to manifest problems. So that spiritual level, I mean, that's where people have spontaneous remissions. They go to faith healers and somebody just puts their hands on them and boop, they could get out of the wheelchair because it's that faith, right? It's a faith in something higher than us. So I would like to suggest that instead of putting all your faith in the person with the white coat, put your faith in something higher than them, right? Put your faith in whatever it is. I'm hoping people believe something is out there bigger than they are, but that's the key to healing right there. Faith.
I honestly want to thank you for the great insight. I've always had it in mind, and also people actually all also understand, on also in every perspective, that we are more of spiritual being. And for us to actually live more fulfilled, the soul has actually been brought on earth to actually perform a specific task. And despite how we are as a spiritual being, we have to actually connect our mind and our body, and they actually need to align, work hand in hand, and actually direct ourselves to the right face. And if we are actually doing something different, that is when we start to have situations within our body, situations that arises and ups and down as well. And that shows that our spiritual part is very important. And also, I sincerely appreciate you for now the greatest insight as well. We are at the greatest source of our healing. We can actually look up there and actually get the sense of the feeling from the divine that we actually need to heal within ourselves. We do understand that it's more easier to go outside to think we could get one or two things, but we should need to understand that our answers is always within us. Dr. Paula, I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity for us to have this profound and insightful conversation today. Thank you so much, Dr. Paula.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right, Dr. Paula. Have a wonderful day, Dr. Paula. Bye bye.
Bye bye.